morning, ladies and gentlemen, and the second speaker for the opposition. So, I'm Prakhar Rathi, and I'd like to start now. So, scrapping any policy is a very tedious and a lengthy procedure. We cannot only base our decision on the present circumstances. We have to take into account the past experiences and the future implications. Only then can we decide whether a policy needs to be amended or scrapped altogether. I'm going to look at, and this is exactly how I'm going to approach my topic. I'll be looking at the moral aspects, the past injustices, and the present condition of the disadvantaged social groups. Before we start debating over the topic, whether affirmative action is right or wrong, we need to look into why it was initially installed. As I think everybody forgot to mention, it was started by John F. Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson in their office decisions. This was done to fight the oppression of minorities, to atone for the past sins and the past injustices which were faced by the blacks in America, or maybe the Dalits in India, or Malays in Singapore and Malaysia. Many people call affirmative action as a preferential treatment. So correct me if I'm wrong. Preferential treatment means that one group is placed above another one, that one group gets more opportunities than the other one. So tell me if I'm wrong again, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the majority have its affirmative action for the past 400 years when only the majority was given the opportunity to be educated, to get employed, to have a decent standard of living, while the minorities had to rot in poverty? They were not educated, they were not given employment opportunities. The only career option they had was slavery. No, thank you. So for 400 years, the majority enjoyed affirmative action. But the moment this privilege was handed over to the minorities, they start questioning the system. They talk about rights, they talk about justice. Tell me where was the justice when they were discriminated against, time and again?
POI, sir?
No, thank you. It's not even been 100 years and you started questioning the policy makers. This is an example of how the majority always continues to dominate the society. They always want to run it on their own terms and conditions.
POI, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, does the motion not state the time has come? Are you in any way, shape or form suggesting that 100 years is not a long time?
So, the 400 years of injustices wasn't a long time either. I'm saying that we have to compensate, one second, we have to compensate for the injustices which were done in the past to the minorities, and I think 100 years is not the time which should be given.
POI, sir?
Yeah.
Just clear this up for me. 400 years ago is not in the past.
Yeah, it is in the past. So.
Okay, no, that's okay.
Okay. So tell me, the government, is it wrong in handing out privileges to compensate for the past sins, to right a few wrongs? Now I think the proposition was going to raise a POI, I guess. That's saying, why should we suffer the punishment for the crimes our forefathers did? Or why should the current generations get the compensation when it was in fact their ancestors who faced the injustices? But I think the answer is that because of slavery, because of oppression, because of the injustices which were faced by the blacks in America or the Dalits in India, their condition today has become that they're living in poverty. One second. They're living in poverty. They're not given equal opportunities as the majority. And it is because our predecessors oppressed these communities that there has been a wide economic gap that cannot be filled in 100 years at all. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. So, could you point out to any speech by my two speakers which said that we're completely ignoring the struggle of these said races? Could you also prove to us why affirmative action will uplift these certain races, completely ignoring their economic aspects?
Yeah, so they're given economic aid, they're given preferences in colleges. Isn't that uplifting them? Isn't that giving them an opportunity to study? So I think that clarifies the query. Anyway, moving on. And the success of this system is mind-blowing. In 2009, in the US, the percentage of African Americans above the age of 25 who had a 4-year college degree was at 17% for the African Americans from 0.6% in the 1960s. Isn't that a success itself? And for that, for 1 second, sir, it was 13% from 0.4%. However, the percentage of white Americans was still at a 28%. So this proves that though the communities have taken great strides in closing the education gap, disparities in higher education still prevalent, and we still need to fight this system. In India, no, thank you, sir. Please let me make a point. And in India, the discrepancy was at a staggering 8.15%. This means we still have a long way to go. My next point of argument includes diversity in colleges. It has been proven that diversity in workforce fosters innovation and competitiveness in business. In a Forbes survey, it was found that 85% of the respondents said that diversity is crucial for their business, and 75% agreed that they would leverage diversity in the next 3 years. The attempts of prestigious institutes like Oxford or Harvard also point out, to diversify their crowd, also point out that diversity leads to creativity. Finally, I'd like to address the issue of mixed matching. For those of you who don't know, mixed matching is a phenomenon wherein a person ends up in a college where he does not actually belong, and thus he finally has to drop out. I think opponents of affirmative action blame this on the policy of helping the disadvantaged. But let me ask you guys, is it not better that only some of them drop out rather than none of them going to college? Isn't that helping them? Richard Sanders of UCLA said that there would be a 7.9% drop in the Afro-American attorneys if this policy is continued. And this was a moment of rejoicing for the opponents of affirmative action. However, the following year, this policy was debunked by 2 Yale professors who said that it would in fact drop by 12.7% if this policy is scrapped altogether. I can name numerous people who we wouldn't have any clue about if it wasn't for affirmative action. America would never have a black president had Obama not been benefited from this policy. At the same time, America would never have an actor who could play the black president if it wasn't for if Morgan Freeman didn't know about affirmative action. Would Canada ever have been home sweet home for Punjab if it wasn't for employment equity in Canada? India couldn't witness the talents of actors like Ajay Devgan and Johnny Lever, sportsmen like Vinod Kambli and Seema Phogat, and I guess Kolaveri Day would never have been a hit. And finally, I would also like to talk about the politicians. Our former speaker, Meera Kumar, was also benefited from the policy of reservation. Does the success of these people not point out that this has helped the underprivileged to come out of their caves and live up to the expectations of the world? So before we even think about scrapping affirmative action, we have to think about what is good and what good it has done to the society and why it is morally correct. Thank you.